Mr. David Brier, welcome, welcome, welcome. How we
Yo,
doing?
what's going on, Roger? Roger, I'm calling you
So
Roger again. I'm
you're
calling you
out,
Roger again.
you're outdoors today.
I am outdoors today, and you know what? Since I'm outdoors today, and I'm enjoying a little bit. I'm enjoying a little bit of like some crate. Look at this.
Is
That is like
that ice cream?
that is that is double chocolate Belgian ice cream, and so I'll give you my sort of French. I'll give you my French review. Oh, it is delicious. Oh, there you go. There is my absolutely pathetically ridiculous um, French accent.
That's great. Well, we're back again this week to talk about branding.
Mm.
And man, David, I read your article today. I thought that was really, really insightful, and just was curious. I mean, I thought it'd be great to start off talking about that. What prompted you to write the article? And you covered so many amazing things in there, and I wanted to kind of go over some of the things where you say you should look for the power tools. I thought that would be very beneficial for people to go over those.
Complete. So here's the interesting thing. I was really looking at. I mean, we've been putting together the course, and what I've been looking at is what's the difference as to how we're approaching it. And I looked at how I approached writing brand intervention, which people loved.
Okay.
And it was like, so the whole thing about I wanted to have no fluff in brand intervention. I wanted to have no, I really wanted to just people get the simplicity and the core things with no fluff. I didn't want them to have to search for where's the good stuff. And the same thing with this. I find that many courses, what they're trying to basically do is they're going, okay, you don't know the student, but I know. And I am going to now share with you my great little formulas and insights. And I was like, wait a second. That's one way to approach it. I personally found that what if we approach it from the standpoint of giving people the knowledge and the certainty instead of rules and templates and swipe files and color by number options. That was the thing. And so that was really what inspired me because to me, the greatest course is going to make you and me more independent and less dependent. You see, that to me is the power that we become more independent, more agile, more empowered, and less dependent on another. And that was the thing that I found. And even I was talking to someone this afternoon, since when you and I spoke a little earlier. I said the biggest difference, I think, what's been available up till now has been it's basically the choice between do you want to basically take a course that's here's branding for dummies or here's branding for actually really intelligent people. That I think is the difference.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things you said, David, I think it was sometime over the last week in one of your posts, and it really caught my attention, is that, and I fall in this category, so I'd love to get other people's thoughts. Like when I think about branding, or at least when I used to think about branding, I would think about, okay, I need a new logo, or a new tagline. And when your definition of branding, that's a very small piece of it, right? I mean, that has nothing to do with the overall concept of truly branding or doing a rebrand.
Well, the thing is that let's look at it. I mean, you and me, and actually I'm sharing this, by the way, with the world right now as we're speaking. I'm sharing this to everybody. And here we go. I'm just telling them, join us now. And if you're with us now already, that's awesome. But I'm just telling everybody, join us. We're live.
And we do have a couple people in the waiting
with ice cream.
Yeah, with ice cream. There's a couple of people in the waiting room that want to join as well to ask questions.
Oh, fabulous. So the thing is, the basic thing is this: people need to understand the foundation. That's what people need to really get, right? If you understand, like if I understand, like I'm talking to you, Roger. That's a communication. I have something to say, an idea that I want you to get and embrace. I want to ignite something in you. How do I achieve that? Right? And so if I understand the mechanics of what goes into that, doesn't that put me in the driver's seat to now craft something that once I understand the mechanics, the things that will trigger your interest, trigger your attention, trigger your passions, connect to your values. So you go, wow. You go, yes. That's the difference. So I wanted to give people the underlying things that made branding work. Because what I was finding is that people were getting like, let's look at the outer, most obvious things. Like, hey, oh, how do I get more likes? How do I produce something viral? How do I do this? How do I do that? They were looking at the mechanics of these little tricks to achieve a little something, but they didn't know, what if that didn't work? What do they do now? They didn't have the foundation. They lacked the foundation. They knew one little trick, and that was the difference.
Got it. Got it. All right, we're going to bring someone right in here, David.
I love it. I love it.
Dave.
Oh, dude, our surprise guest.
Is this our surprise guest?
This is our surprise. By the way,
yeah,
dude,
what are you eating?
I'm eating double chocolate Belgian chocolate ice cream with a little bit of peppermint crackly just goodness.
Oh, bro, why are you doing that to me right now?
Because,
how much are flights? Are you near the airport right now?
Dude, if you show up, if you arrive by tonight, we'll still have some for you. No problem.
We'll see.
No problem. We might even be able to give you some to bring back to your family.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? You gonna make a joke about my sister right now? Is that what's about to happen?
All right. Well, here's the thing. So, Roger, what you need to understand is Dale and I met in a city in Florida. Okay. He and I went out. We were like, we had to like get the meeting of the two bros, right? So we hung out, went out to brunch. He had his wife, his adorable kid, and his sister, who's adorable. She's just like absolutely adorable, a perfect figure. But you sit her down, and she's with her boyfriend. She sits down in front of a table with food. She starts absorbing the food like a freaking human sponge. She's devouring more calories in the course of the hour and a half that I saw her than a usual like an entire bingo parlor where like all these people with and the whole buffet. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was very impressive. I have to admit, it was impressive.
It was like watching one of the Avengers, and her superpower was like being able to consume high quantities of calories without any impact on her body.
Yeah, it's good times.
Love it.
Sorry, Roger. This is what happens when you put Dale and David into a room together.
I understand that,
nonsense.
Dale. Welcome. If you can, give everyone a little bit of your background and how you know David.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah. Dale Dupree, leader of the Sales Rebellion. Spent 13 years in the B2B world selling copiers with my father's company for 4 years, acquired by a company called North American Office Solutions. Went from an $8 million dealership to a $24 million dealership in about 6 years. Became the VP of sales. Moved on to the corporate world with Xerox, and then decided that sales sucked, and that for the most part that people that were in sales didn't realize that there was a better way to do it. And even in the way that I articulated it as a leader, it was hard to get across because there was a clash, with the higher ups, and the way that the company wanted to focus on things such as metrics and numbers and do this, do that, as opposed to allowing and unleashing people's authenticity and allowing them to become genuine inside of the sales cycle instead of robotic, to start putting people before products, community over commission checks, and performing experiences. And that's actually how David and I met. We met through LinkedIn. I was still the copier warrior at the time, which was my personal brand inside the copier space. And part of David's influence on me too was, not that I didn't already believe in branding, but part of David's influence on me was take this to the next level. You can. And so I did. David and a lot of people influenced me to just go out and do my own thing and just trust God and say, this is something that I'm inherently good at, and that I know that I can teach other people to pull from their inherent abilities as well too. And here we are today. I'm a huge believer in branding. David knows that. I'm wearing my brand on my hat right now even. So him and I align big time. I mean, David, are we writing a book? Are we co-authoring a book at some point? I mean, maybe we should announce that tonight on this live exclusively. Look at him thinking. He's thinking hard right now. He's like,
there is so much that we're doing that I haven't told you about.
You'll have to know, Dale.
You know what's crazy, Roger, is we would be like right now, and actually it would have been a couple months ago that we would have been announcing it, but we would be right now being preparing for a mastermind that David and I were planning on putting on here in Orlando with our good friend Dusty Rollins, who is a money guy, right? So we were going to have the essentials of starting your business: sales, marketing, and money. And unfortunately, COVID-19 happened, and we're not together.
Virtually.
Yeah.
Well, you have to do that next year for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing is, we realized that this was actually a conspiracy. That once people got wind that we were actually doing this, it was like, what could we do to prevent this? And they were like, okay, a pandemic might do. Thank you very much. It was unbelievable.
Yes.
You're the cause. Dale, talk about your branding process. Love your logo. Dave and I were just talking about logos before you popped in. But talk about that, because you did it right from the beginning, right? You left the corporate world, came into doing your own thing. And what was that experience like?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that it was an easy natural transition, because I started to brand myself back in 2010 when I was still with the private sector, and I took that into the corporate world. So actually, when the people who I moved up out of the private sector, or I should say the private owner group, into a corporate ownership group, they had to take on my brand. That was just part of it. I was going to work for them, but they still had to allow me to have copywarrior.com and to use my marketing and to use my own logo. And because I was a staple inside of my community, and I had a reputation around it. So it was really interesting to watch how they adapted it. And bluntly, I'll say that they just wanted to take advantage of it. And that's all they ever did, was just take advantage of it. They didn't really care that what the logo stood for, that it was the legacy and the shadow of an amazing man that I inherited as my father, and that taught me to become the man that I was, from the perspective of all things: the way I treat my wife, the way I treat my prospects, the way I father my son, the way I'm present with people, the way I meet people where they are. It's all based around, my whole entire brand was based around my father and his teachings. I bet if you had asked them, like, what does Dale's brand stand for? They'd be like, oh, he's a copier salesman, and he's called the Copier Warrior, and that wasn't the case, right? So I'll tell you that from the beginning, I understood that a brand could translate something bigger than just the name and the logo even. The Sales Rebellion is a movement. And the way that we even created the Sales Rebellion, coming out of the big corporate monster that I was in and getting lost and drowned out in it, I thought, what could reps individually inside of their companies all over the world adopt for themselves to make them feel valuable, to make them feel that somebody had their back and that they weren't alone in this whole nonsense that is sales in some cases, but that there were people out here, a silent majority, that believed the same things that they did and that wanted to form a community around them. And so the Sales Rebellion was based around that concept. We used it in more of an 80s field because of the nostalgia of it for most of the people in the millennial and generation and Gen X generation. So we were targeting that group for the most part. But the Gen Zers, what's been beautiful about it is that they love it too, because it's different, it's wild, it's wacky, it's in your face, right? But at the same time that it has something to it that most corporate brands would not ever dare to try in the first place. And that's what we do. We dare mighty things.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing that I love about Dale. Dale is like one of the few ridiculously good storytellers, like ridiculous. It's probably obscene how ridiculous it is. And so, I mean, even to the point where if I ever need a reason to smile, I call up Dale's voicemail, because he never picks up his phone. So it's a stunt. It's a prop, right? And so the thing is, you call it, and his greeting, if you're not smiling by the time you're done with his greeting, you don't have a pulse. It's that crazy.
Well, David, I was going to ask you, Dale's enthusiasm just pours out, right? When he talks about his brand, when he talks about his product. How important is that and think about companies of all sizes, right? If you work for a company, if you own a company, if you're heading up the branding or marketing, how important is it for someone to truly believe and have that level of passion for it to shine through the brand?
It's pivotal. The greatest brands you'll find, if you look at them one for one, you'll find they're driven by a person. Like, for example, as good as Samsung might be in terms of technology, it still lacks a soul when you put it up against Apple, because Apple, you had Steve Jobs, and you had that whole side where it celebrated the individual, their element of creativity and such like that. Or you look at Tesla with Elon Musk. They're all different personalities. You have Virgin with Richard Branson, right? You have VaynerMedia, Gary Vee. So you have these things, Fubu, Daymond John. These are all people who have a passion. They're into their own thing. They all dance their own thing. They all have a different way that they express their love and their passion and their mission in life. But the companies that have that are so far ahead of a competing company that lacks that human element.
Yeah. Pivotal.
Oh, and actually, I got to ask Dale, before you jumped on, there's one thing that I said. I think that, I know your values, and you and I track on this like so completely. And by the way, in case you don't remember what TSR stands for, an alternative explanation is like totally synergistic rodeo. That's just an alternative thing, just in case you need it. But with that being said, now that I've completely destroyed Dale's brand. So the thing is this, I was talking about the factor of, you and I really haven't talked too much about it, but we just started the enrollment on the basically brand intervention masterclass, which is kind of like a hybrid between a mentorship and masterclass. Thank you. And the thing that's freaking awesome about it, I was talking to somebody this afternoon. I said, this is unlike any other class, because what I've seen with courses that people can do online, even with the person me being present to some extent, is they give people a few little tricks, but they don't empower them with the knowledge. And to me, it's like the difference between, you could take a class that's like, okay, here's branding for dummies. We know that you're an idiot and that you can't get any smarter. You can't innovate anything or come up with anything yourself. So here's the color by number templates and all the swipe files and all the little cheat sheets, and just go for it. Or you could have, instead of branding for dummies, you could have branding for intelligent people, for people who actually like their independence and be able to think on their feet and actually come up and apply their ingenuity. I'd just get your riff on that.
Yeah, dude, it's so high level, right? I think that one of the things about a brand that goes unspoken is that you could sit back and say all day long that I want it to look like this, I want it to feel like that, I, me, but what you're missing is your customer, is your ideal audience, are the people that you're going to be speaking to. And I think that what they want to hear from you are your core principles more than anything. And I think that that's a big piece of the puzzle of masterminding even a brand. I think that is what's beautiful about what you do. And maybe we've never directly spoken about this, and we probably have, just like passively, but is the idea of like, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your brand in the first place? Like, oh, we sell XYZ and we improve this process. Good for you. So does everybody else's product. Why does it differentiate itself? What makes it so freaking epic? And so the why for the sales rebellion is to serve others, cause undeniable curiosity, create impact, get rid of your robots, tell stories, create wonder, become vulnerable in your sales walk. And we know these things. We believe them. And because it's something that can just roll right off the tongue like that, between me and my coaches, people believe in the brand because now it's theirs. When they hear it, they go, oh shit, that's me. I love it, and that's the synergistic piece. Gets me fired up just thinking about it, right? I'm even cussing on live LinkedIn. I've never done that before, Roger. So but again, the idea.
No, that was awesome. I was actually getting emotionally upset. I was getting pent up, going, I can't believe he has not yet cursed once. What the hell? Who is this? Who's this imposter?
Yeah, so this is what I would say. Everybody that has the opportunity to get into David's masterclass, do it, because this didn't just come because I sat around by myself for hours and figured out like, oh, I love branding and I want this and I want that. And neither did David's expertise as well too. Like David inherently is a creative like I am, but David has been with people and worked on some of the biggest brands. I mean, Daymond John says that David is one of the best, right? I mean, that should be enough. The FUBU guy, right? Like one of the best brands out there, and I'll tell you straight up that the Sales Rebellion is influenced by David's book and by David's walk at the same time as well too. And so if you have the opportunity to pay a little bit of money and sit in front of this guy and learn the why behind what you're doing and identify it and then pull it out so other people can see it and make it part of their existence, then what are you waiting for?
I'm closed. I'm signing up for this freaking course like right now. I love this. I'm closed. This is brilliant. Damn.
Yeah, David, walk us through. I know it's a 8-week program. What will people actually experience in these? It's 2 months. I mean, that's a long time. Two
It's a
full
long time.
of your
Yep.
time. What
Well,
can they experience in that time period?
Well, let me first frame this. But here's the thing. There's going to be what they're going to get, and then there's going to be what they're not going to get. They're not going to be given stupid little tricks and rules and checklists that they need to mindlessly follow. My job is not to create a loyal fan who just can be dependent on me for the rest of their existence. My job is to give them independence. So they're going to get to their core, the understanding. What is branding? Why does it work? I'll give you some very specific examples. There are 3 phases to branding. Most companies only use 2 of those phases. The greatest brands really cash in on the 3rd because people, customers, rarely expect it. That's one thing. And I know, and bottom line is Dale does this natively. That's why I love him so much. Now, the interesting thing is that there's 23 differentiators, as an example. I codified them. There's 23 that can apply to each of those phases. That's a total of 69 different differentiators, of which most companies might use 5, 7. We're going to go into depth into what those are. And my job isn't here to give you like a gazillion tools so you can basically now sit here and go, I don't know what the freaking hell to pick. That's a lousy teacher. Great teacher is going to give you the tools, say, here's where you should focus. Ignore this crap, get rid of this crap. We're going to trim it like a good butcher who cuts away the fat, gives you just that perfect cut of meat. Then you slap it on the grill and you go, that's what this freaking thing is going to be like. So those are just a couple of examples. Plus, each week, I'm going to be meeting online. We're going to actually have meetings. We're going to dive in, and I'm going to rip people's heads off if they don't get this stuff right, in a loving way, of course. But the bottom line is I'm not going to let them waste their freaking time. I value my time. I value their time. So this is not about being a time waster. This is about the smartest way to use your intelligence, to use your resources. And that's if you're creating a brand, or you could even use the same tools in a negotiation, and you could use the same tools. Let's say if you're in the position of, I need to hire, we're going to hire a CMO. How do you know if you're hiring the right one? Is it just going to be, well, the person sounds good, we like their resume, we're going to cross our fingers? With these tools, you now have the judgment to go and ask the right questions and sort it out. You stop going blind. Stop being dependent. Stop being hopeful. This puts an end to that and puts you on the road. So you end up smarter, knowing knowledge. You're going to end up with the knowledge at the end, not with a bunch of little rules, little souvenirs. I call like little souvenir pack. Oh, I've got my souvenir pack. Here's my cheat sheet. Here's my swipe file. Oh, here's my little checklist that I should do because I don't know what the freaking hell I'm doing. I don't know how to think. That's for losers. This is for those that want to be empowered. That's the difference.
So, David, how do you attribute? I know there's a lot of companies that you've worked with. I've seen some testimonials, several testimonials of people that their sales have jumped tremendously year over year when they apply these principles.
Yeah.
Why is that? What is happening that allows the sales to jump? And Dale, maybe you could talk about that too from your business perspective. But what is it that when you do a rebrand or when you brand things the right way that actually ultimately affects your sales?
Well, I'll say this, and I know that Dale can totally answer this too. He does it. He tackles it from the sales side. This is tackled from the sales is on the front lines of getting it out there. This is kind of like allowing you to arrive at the front lines. And so the basic thing is this: if we're all bombarded by, there's no shortage of being hit with noise of like, whatever you want to do, if you want to buy sneakers, you want to buy a car, you want to buy clothing, you want to buy ice cream, whatever it's like, they're all going to say we're the best, we're the tastiest, we're the most delicious, we've been the longest, we were all made in the USA, we all hire midgets, like really, really, really short Lilliputians from the Wizard of Oz, who really are cute and adorable, and they breathe love into every little thing that they make. You can just go down that road and you go, all right, fine. But the bottom line is how do you stand out? How do you differentiate? We really go heavy into differentiation because 98% of the companies out there are using cliches. They're using the same promises. They're saying, we're the best. We're saying, first of all, they make the first core mistake, which I know Dale's going to just jump on this one, is the factor of first mistake they're making is they're talking about themselves. Mistake number one, it ain't about you, buddy. Okay? If we share values, let's look at the two greatest companies in the world, right? Look at Nike, you look at Apple. Steve Jobs was a user experience geek. Apple's was a reflection. He was the first customer of Apple, and simply really decided to own that and export that to people who shared like values. Nike was created by sports enthusiasts. They weren't business people who said, what's a good market we should go into? Hey, how about sneaker wear? Right? So the thing is you start out with the values. That is the nucleus. That's the hidden nucleus. It's hiding in plain sight. I mean, Dale, I'm sure you can add to this.
Yeah, I think that the piece of the puzzle here that you harped on that most people need to hear is this idea of what marketing truly is, which is what you just talked about, right? And it's in the most creative way possible, of course, by via David Brier, but also in a very digestible way for people just now. I think what people needed to hear just then is that brands love to just cliche off of each other, even, right? Where one, I have literally witnessed this, okay? And I don't know if you have too, but when you sit down with a creative person, they go, so we checked out your 3 competitors' websites and we think that yours should look like this. And it's almost a conglomeration of the other 3. And you sit back and you go, what's going on? I mean, it's nuts to think that is an actual thing. Where what it should be done, and this is actually what happened with my dad and I during our first website overhaul, which was, again, like you talked about, the differentiation concept, what makes us different. And not so much what makes us different from our point of view, but our customers, so that we can speak their language and that they can read and see and feel and touch and think, this is my tribe, these are my people, this speaks to me. And when we sat down with our graphic designer, back in 2008 and 9 for our overhaul, it was interesting what came out from it. I remember thinking, wow, we have a very state-of-the-art website here for that time, back in 2008 and 2009. It was not like our competitors at all whatsoever. There was nothing that made it seem as if we were a copier company as much as that we were a family business. And that was what hit home for people, is that they felt comfort in that, familiarity in that, relevance in that. And I think those are key pieces to the puzzle that most people just kind of pass over in the first place. A lot of people sit back and say, oh yeah, those are just fluffy words. We need to create value. That's an empty word, right? And we've all experienced that. Somebody saying, let me provide value for you. And it's like, well, what is it? Your cheap price or your 76 emails saying just checking in and this Sunday only, I've got a deal for you, right? What is the value and all that? So I think that the brand is the front line. It is the first impression, and that it's an immediate turn to the sale, which is, hey, I really liked what I saw here. What's this about? And nuancing the two is what makes people unstoppable, right? And that's why the Copier Warrior had a 90+% close rate. And that's why it was easy for me to pick 100 people out of the year that I said I wanted appointments with all these people, and that I could easily get 75% of those, 80% of those without a problem. Because I use the concept of branding, causing curiosity, stirring emotional context around what it is that they were seeing, viewing, feeling, touching, again, like I've said a couple times, and the developing around that from a sales perspective. Sales is definitely the one that takes the touchdown pass, right? But it is marketing that throws it. A lot of people think it's the buyer, but the buyer is actually just running the route with you, right? It's marketing that's actually guiding the whole thing and saying, this is the way that we go.
Yep.
And then once the sale happens, David, so after the sale, then how important is the follow-up and the constant, interaction with that client to make sure that they remain, sticky and are receiving the value that they deserve?
Well, here's the deal. The stupid, short-sighted, transaction-based salesperson will think that that's the conclusion of the relationship, or that's the conclusion of that particular thing. No, that's called you just started. That's the beginning. I mean, that's like, okay, you've negotiated, you've done your deal. They love the price, they love the product, they love the service. Whatever. Boom, you've made that available for them. That's when your relationship begins. And that is where your opportunity to really drive home difference. I remember when I first learned this when I went to a place with my wife. We went to a really nice mall. They had really nice shops. And you know the Coach stores with the Coach leather bags? We're all husbands. We know what those are. Come on, let's get real.
Oh, yeah.
So, the, so the thing is we went into one, and I have two jobs when I'm doing that. One is to sort of be oblivious, and number two is to not be oblivious at all and be paying very close attention. What is the stuff that my wife is circling around? And so the thing is I'm watching and I see there's a particular bag. She kind of notices a particular bag, talks about it with her sister, then circles around the store a few times. And I'm kind of like mindless, absent-mindedly looking around, but noticing everything. And circles the bend, circle again. Good. We leave. And we walk down the mall. I said, "Oh, honey, I forgot. I have to go to the bathroom," I think I said. So of course, 86 back to the Coach store, and I say, that bag, I need that, and so I buy it, I get it, run it to the trunk in the car. And we get home, I bring it out to my wife, I show it, and now here's what I observed. So what do we have the expected, we have the unexpected. That's where differentiation comes in, is where the unexpected arrives. So now, what do they have? The expected. They have the nice, beautiful brown bag with the gold foil. Beautiful. Then they have the nice tissue paper. Nice, but expected. Then she opens and she looks inside. She sees the leather bag. "Oh, honey, you were paying attention." "Yes, I was, honey. Yes, I was." And so, but then inside is this booklet, about 4x6. It's about 20 pages. And all it is pictures and a few words that showed people in the craft, working on leather and the stitching and all this stuff. By the time you were done with that bag had just been transformed from a purchase to like you just inherited a legacy. It transformed it right there. That's how you start to build. So yes, they hit it on all the fronts, but did they need to do that because the purchase was made? No, they didn't, but they did. It's like Apple with their packaging. We all have Apple products. So you open your iPhone, that box is like it's like something out of Indiana Jones, right? It's like it fits. It comes off perfectly, and everything in there is in its perfect place, and it fits just like a work of art. You're like, holy crap! After the sale, wow! But those are opportunities right there.
Great. No, I'm really happy you gave that story because that puts it into real life perspective. Right? Coach, we know the brand Coach. But then when you hear that extra part that they put in, the storybook, that goes the extra mile. And I think about companies like Starbucks. I think about companies like Nordstrom, as you mentioned, Nike, Apple, all these big brands that have gone the extra mile. But then you think about the smaller brands. You go to your local coffee shops, it's the ones that do the extra things, right? Is that really where the connectivity begins, is showing the customer that they really mean something, but also tying in your brand story?
Totally. I mean, Dale lives, eats, breathes, and does everything with this stuff all the time. I see how he does it. He's a madman with this stuff. I mean, see, that's the one thing I love. A brand has to have balls. A brand's got to be adventurous. It's got to be courageous. Brands cannot be timid. I mean, that's the one thing that like so many brands do. They're timid or they're stupidly repetitive, right? Oh, well, that's what I've always heard it was be done. So I guess I'll just do it that way. And so now you blend into everybody and now you just become freaking vanilla. And as we know, vanilla is overrated because this sucker's gone, man. It's like no more vanilla, no more chocolate, no more nothing. That sucker was delicious. Damn.
Next time you have to cue us in on that so we could also have our ice cream.
Right.
Dude, I'm going to as soon as we're done, I'm going on my iPhone. I'm sure there's an app for that. I have no doubt.
$1,000,000 idea if there's not.
Virtual ice cream. Hey guys, what flavor do you want? Bang. Okay, there it is.
Okay, so another branding question. how often, and maybe I'll ask Dale this question, how often are you thinking about your brand and branding? Or is it something that once you set it all up, then and all the systems are in place and things are working in the right order, you don't really have to give it much thought? Or is it something that is always top of mind?
A brand is a living, breathing thing inside of your organization. It's like an entity inside of the organization itself. It might not necessarily be changing drastically, but it's always evolving just enough. Every single moment, it's always evolving just enough. It listens to its audience. It understands what the generations to come are bringing to the table. It is very cognizant of what is working and what is not. And so the brand will change. It will evolve. The problem is that the people that even the people that try to make the argument that like, well, Coca-Cola's never changed. Oh, buddy, if we could sit back and line that up and show you just how much they changed for so many years, just enough to keep you looking, it'd blow your mind if you really looked at it. It's psychologically, the brand is it's more than a visual, it's an emotion, it's a nostalgia, right? Like David alluded to earlier a little bit around the idea of legacy, right? The brand is really what helps people to paint their own picture as well too. Think about that, 80-year-old man or woman that maybe they just lost a spouse or a loved one in their life, a friend, that they spent half their life with. And one of those pieces of their memories of the best times with that person is down by the lake cracking a cold Coke. What's the first thing they're going to do when they go into a gas station, just to grab some Cheetos because they're on the road, right? And they see a Coke. They're going to say, man, that would be nice right now. And maybe they head down to that same lake and they experience that same emotion in that moment. Those are the types of things that brands can be for people from a nostalgic look. But that 80-year-old man or woman that's in that emotional moment is not the 17-year-old kid that's about to check into college. And so you also have to balance this concept of who's out there and what am I looking to do? Because now I have to build all brand new memories with this person. I have them over here, but I need new memories with this person as well too. It's an enablement concept, right? But I definitely don't recommend that people, change their name halfway through their existence. Like, this just doesn't work anymore unless their name truly was never connected to the legacy that they're building. Because rebrands are very popular and they should be done in some cases in regards to why did I start the company? Why did I brand to begin with? But again, like I believe a brand works just like I believe a living, a pipeline, a living pipeline, an ecosystem. Somebody says, hey, I'm not interested right now. It doesn't mean that you move on to the next. That person lives within your pipeline from there forward. They are always in existence inside of your walk, just like your brand is doing the same thing as it feeds other people's creativity and that emotional draw to you.
And and just to your point, I mean, even take an example. I mean, like for example, we all know the Oreo cookie, right? The Oreo cookie. You go, well, it's never changed. It's always been those two, the dark crackers on the outside and the white stuff in the middle. It's never changed. Oh yeah, I mean, they've done a brilliant job of making the Oreo cookie synonymous with good times, synonymous with like undoing it and dunking it. And I mean, it's all these pleasure moments, all of these things with emotion and interaction and humanity. And it's bigger. The best brands are bigger than the things that they make or sell. It's in a whole ecosystem of experience and emotions and values.
And that's what I was just going to say from both your stories. That's what I felt was the emotion. And I thought of that quote, that famous quote that goes like this: people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And it exactly. Sounds like that's the same thing with a brand. It's how does that brand emotionally tie you to that company, product, service, whatever it may be. And so for me, I'm starting to, get my head around this now, that it's more about emotion. How do we tap into that emotion of our customer?
Yeah, it's not a cerebral thing. It's it's associations. And so much of it is achieved with so many different little tools. I mean, like for example, going back to Coca-Cola, it's like how many brands can literally have just this big red stripe that kind of goes like that, and you go, and you have like 20 different feelings and thoughts and ideas because of that The wave, the red wave. Bang, it's refreshing. And oh, it's that taste on the tongue, and it's the flavor. And oh, that's that summer day. You have all of these associations. And that's what I think is the power of a great brand.
Love it. That's awesome. So let's talk
Roger, you've turned into a nighttime person.
I've been
like I'll never be able, just to carry that concept further, I'll never be able to look at the letters TSR ever again without thinking of Dale. That's just the way it is.
Good.
David, can you give us a story about one of your clients that went through a rebrand? So people that are thinking about rebranding, they've had a brand for a long time. Maybe their sales are, static. They need a shakeup. Give us an example of someone you took through a rebrand that really energized their entire company and organization.
I'll tell you a perfect example. It's a perfect example. So so I have to ask now, Dale, there's one thing I don't know about you. Are you a dog lover or not?
I got 2 dogs.
Dude, I didn't know. All right.
Come on, bro. I thought we were friends on Instagram. Come on.
Hey.
Are you not on your? Do you not check your Instagram? Do you pay somebody to do your Instagram, David Brier? Tell us the truth right now.
I see. No, I check my Instagram, but the thing is when I don't recognize your dogs. I recognize you. I say, oh, there's that gorgeous little face with a little beard and the hat and the whole deal. And there's your kid and blah, blah. I see all that. That's the stuff that I recognize. The dog, I miss. So here's the thing. Here's a perfect example. So a company approaches me last year. I love this. They approached me, and the name of their company at the time is High Meadow Farms. High Meadow Farms. They have, you know what a Bolshoi dog is? You know what Bolshoi is? Okay. And Dale, you know what one is? They're like amazingly gorgeous. They have 22 of them. Wow. They have a kennel that is the only kennel of its kind in the world. They've constructed it. It's amazing. They have 22 of these white Bolshois, and a couple of them were having health issues. Like I think one of them had cancer. 1 or 2 of them had cancer. So they started doing this homework. They found that there was this particular type of I can't even get my hair to go straight. All right, whatever. It's all in reverse. There we go. No, forget that. Well, yeah, you're lucky right now. You're lucky. All right. So the thing is this. David does this. They end up saving the lives of their dog by actually finding a particular diet that had to do with creating this premium uncooked dog food, and their dogs came back to full health. So they created this farm, and now they made it locally. Well, sales were like flat and going on a decline. And so they said, David, can you rebrand this? I said, of course. They asked me, said, we'd like to double our business in the next year. I said, okay. So first thing is I found, what do I know? I know that dog lovers are passionate. Okay. Dog lovers, it's like ridiculous. Like dogs are equal to family members, if not more loved than family members. So you got that passion. So that's one thing I knew and needed to understand about that audience. At the same time, I looked at what else was available. We all know the brands like Purina, but if you know dog food, Purina is crap. Purina is just like processed junk. It's not good for dogs. So you go, okay, so you got Purina, you got Dog Chow, you got all these crappy things. They're producing something that's amazing. So they were like, can we brand it? I said, yes. So besides handling the overall look and stuff, it started with the name. High Meadow Farms. What does that mean to anybody? So I was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to name it, because I found out their brand was actually a lifestyle brand. The people that they had were not just dog owners, but they were dog owners. They loved their wine. They loved their cheese. It was a certain lifestyle. I said, you have a lifestyle brand. It's not just dog food. So named it Napa Fresh. Immediately conveys a lifestyle, a quality of experience. So you got Napa Fresh, food for dogs, right? Not dog food. Napa Fresh, food for dogs. Very, very all specific, very choreographed. Beautiful design, stunning, incredible imagery. And so the colors, the sequence, the look and the feel. Now what starts to happen is people start going, holy crap, and they start ordering more and more and more. And to date, 10 months later, their sales are over 200% over what it was last year. And
Wow.
it's because they created the kind of language, story, and vibe, and almost like an aura that surrounds the brand. That's an example. It was starting with the language as the nucleus, really respecting the values and the passion and the love of that lifestyle. Like, wow, I could just be sitting drinking wine overlooking these beautiful rolling hills or whatever like that. Napa Fresh just immediately conveys just those words alone. That's a quick example. When you see the visuals, your mind would blow. But that's just an example.
And Dale, is that where you're talking about earlier when you said you have to take the emotion, the personal emotion out of it? Like they had it branded after whatever their farm was. David comes in and said, okay, now let's really look at who your audience is. So he removed, the old brand, which was more about them. And now the new brand is about what the product conveys to their audience.
Yes, but because I also feel that the way that David rebranded it still drives that emotion that they have toward the product itself too, which is why they got a little lost. That's what we like to say. They got a little brand lost, where they were very tunnel vision around this idea of this is what happened and this is why we need to do this, and it was very me centric, right? And that conveys, and that's, we can all see it, and there's probably 1 million people that are out there watching that can think of another 1 million people that they go, I found a brand like that once. I've seen that happen. We've all witnessed it to some extent too, right? So I think that's the genius of this whole thing, is that, David, you would agree with this, is that it's a simple formula, but it takes it just takes a lot of sitting back and humbling yourself, saying, you know what, even though this is simple, it's just not what I do and not what I understand. And so now I have an awareness of myself in the process, but I need somebody else to help me with my full awareness, my awareness of my brand, which is awareness of others, and situationally, right, which is the legacy and the story. So
yeah, it's what I call passionate impartiality.
So David, is that the kind of thing that the people that sign up for your masterclass, and so say I'm a chocolatier, or I'm a fashion designer and I don't have the branding part down, I need help, and I take your class, is that what I could expect when I go through that, is to get that type of result where, wow, David's going to help me truly see who my customer is so I could brand the company the way it should be, which is to emotionally.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, put it this way: if you don't have the design skills, you're gonna need a designer. If you don't have the writing chops, if you're like kind of like, oh, I've got the rough ideas, but I'm not really good with language. Okay, you're gonna need some help with that. But the thing is, you can navigate it, right? You know which way to go. It's like, no, we're not. Wait, we're focusing too much on us now. No. We need to be all about them. We need to be about our customer. Here's what we need to do. And you are at the same time, like totally like what Dale had mentioned, it's part of your DNA. Every day you're looking, is our brand on point? Do we still have our edge? Are we still standing out from the crowd? Because the bottom line is nothing stays still. The marketplace is going to shift. And are you going to be able to proactively shift, or you're always going to be a reactionary kind of brand? But if you know your core, and if you know that you can very organically pivot, and that way you'll have the same, people will say, well, they haven't changed, just like Coca-Cola hasn't changed, right? So they go, no, they have. But the thing is, they've done it beautifully, they've done it artfully. So yeah, put it this way. My point is, if you freaking have produced something amazing as a service or as a freaking business or as a product, do not shortchange it by thinking telepathically people are going to get, well, since we put our heart and soul into it and we have the battle scars, that people are going to go, oh, okay, I'm going to somehow recognize it. BS. That's bullshit. Trust me. Show your creation the respect it deserves by actually getting these tools into your arsenal. That's the respectful thing to do. Otherwise, you're being like a freaking naive entrepreneur. I mean, give me a break. I mean, Dale owned his brand. He owned it, and he went all in, and he got the talent that he needed to get the design right, and the this right, but he had the core, he had the adventure, he had the courage, and as with that as the nucleus, he could have a place to emanate, and that's where entrepreneurs are blowing it. Don't short circuit your success. That's my message to anybody that's listening to this.
Love it. Love it. Dale, let's talk about a company like Blockbuster, okay, who didn't change with the times. They thought they had it right. And then this little company called Netflix comes knocking on the door, and their world turned upside down. So, is that an example of, an extreme case of a brand staying, just in the worst possible place of being stagnant?
Yeah, they were very fixated on their identity and how they wanted it to look, right? I mean, it's funny if you watch the evolution of their brand and you see, what they did with video game rentals, and it's very interesting. But no matter how you look at it, all of their pivots were based around profit more than anything. And yes. Yes. So the big thing is that Netflix sat back and said, well, look, we could create a smaller infrastructure, right? Where we're not, we don't have 150 stores across the United States or whatever it is, right? They strategically sat back and said, we can do this better, more efficiently, but what does it really do for the consumer though? It makes it super easy. How many times did you go to Blockbuster to rent a video and they didn't have it? Right. And that was like the literal key to the entire thing. And so Blockbuster thought, well, we'll just add 24 videos, to every store. Well, how did you even come up with that number in the first place? And again, your brand kept saying to me, I am a video rental store. I am a video rental store. It never got any different. And because it was a literal revolving door of video store rental, just do over and over again. And because it never pivoted, people just didn't care anymore, right? Look at electric vehicles and Tesla and what they're doing to the marketplace, and everyone said they'll never be able to make it work. Their brand is recognizable by everybody as the underdog, as the people that are pivoting and moving along with the times, and that are substantially doing that as well too. So Netflix I do like to say that it is kind of an extreme case, because it was like they were wiped out, overnight. But
literally,
be wary of that, right? Be wary of that. When we started our sales training organization, we looked and saw like what are people doing? And of course, everyone said when I told them my ideas, it'll never work. It'll never work. But when the expert tells you that, that's exactly when you want to try it. Especially when you can rebuttal and say to the expert, well, why doesn't it work? Why do you think that? Right? And the answers are selfish. That's what it's all about, right? It's what we're talking about here. This whole big concept around humble yourself. Be willing to let somebody come into your business and replace you. Be willing to allow your brand to not necessarily be exactly what you wanted, but allow it to be something that moves mountains. And that's what makes other people want to climb them to begin with. And it will reward not just you, but the community. That's where people's heads need to go.
Awesome. David, you're chomping at the bit to say something. You're about this Blockbuster.
No, I'm just loving the conversation. I just love it. And there's so much, there's so much that could be said here, but I just love, like Dale, I love the underdog. I love the naysayers. I love those who are more interested in protecting the past than exploring the future. Ooh, I love that. I love that. Oh, it's like, man, when someone starts hugging that past, the way it's always been, well, it's where it's always been, and they're like hugging that sucker to their bosom. It's like, no, get away. We're alone. It's like, no, dude. It's like, I think you guys are a little too close right now. Okay, we need to separate you and put you in separate corners. All right, we need to find out what's really going on here. So anyway, that's the basic thing that I see. I love slaughtering the Goliaths that have gone on autopilot, that have gotten lazy and gotten complacent. Because there's always Being an entrepreneur is not for the weak-hearted. Being an entrepreneur is not for the thin-skinned, and being an entrepreneur is not for those who don't lack their ability to just handle the good, the bad, the ugly. But damn, is it the adventurous and courageous way to go? It's the way to live.
Dale, tell us if people want to get in touch with you. Tell us a little bit more about how you might be able to help them if they're in need of your service.
Sure. Yeah. Anybody that wants to reach out, and we're a training and development company, but we like to make sure that people understand that we're not just here to make you better at sales. We like to breathe life into your walk, right? We want to help you to understand awareness. We want to help you to understand the principles behind your existence more so than how to sell better. That's easy. When you figured yourself out and when you've come to the conclusion of what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it, it's much easier to start selling. And of course, we do believe that we have some of the most unique outreach tools, and we have a system that's unlike anything anybody's ever seen. And I only know I can say that confidently because I've seen everybody's system. I've taken all their classes and all their courses, and I ran the opposite direction. And so we're prideful in that, obviously, but it's because we have a system that guides you, right? We don't have a system that takes over your entire existence and says, do these things to get these meetings. We just pull out of you what you want for your future self. What is your story? How are you telling it? And how can we walk alongside you in that process? Not how can we take over your sales process and make everything better for you, right? That's crap. We don't believe in guarantees. We believe in hard work, and we believe in people finding themselves throughout the process. But yeah, salesrebellion.com is a great place to start. You can Google Dale Dupree or LinkedIn.com/IN/Copy Your Warrior.
Awesome.
And thanks for letting me be here, Roger. This is awesome, man.
Are you kidding?
I appreciate you.
We love it. And are there certain industries that you focus in on, or?
Yeah, man, I tell you what, in the beginning, it was copiers. But man, I mean, God has really blessed us and just brought us such an amazing and diverse group of people. We help sports teams. We help financial advisors, the banking industry. We help retail organizations, hotels, restaurants, a lot of B2B and a lot of B2C alike. And it has blossomed into something that is more of a movement than it is a niche or a specific vertical that we're looking to help. So anybody and everybody is welcome at the Rebellion.
Awesome. And David, I know you have your master class, but before we talk about that, tell us if someone wants to work with you one-on-one, big company, large company, doesn't matter, or small company. I know you offer that as your normal business, right? And then you have this master class.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's right.
Reach out.
Well, obviously you can reach out to me via LinkedIn for sure. You can certainly go to risingabovethenoise.com, RISING, risingabovethenoise.com, and you can subscribe to the basically getting the articles, getting the various things. But if you're like, hey, if you're wondering, the bottom line is if you're kind of like, hey, I'm wondering, I've got a brand that's plateauing. I got a brand that's really, it's not hitting where I think it could be. If you've invested time and energy to create something amazing, I cannot believe it. I have done this for freaking 40 years. I've yet to run into a single organization that I could not help and better. And partly, and the odds are against it. I go, how is that possible? I think it's just due to the fact that their proximity is like kryptonite. They're too close to it. So they've lost all objectivity. They've lost understanding the importances. They think it has to now, and the more that happens, the more they get desperate, the more they start wondering about themselves. Oh, how are we going to do it? And trying to crack their nut. And it gets worse, as opposed to better. So they don't stop going out, and they stop being passionate. They stop telling the great story, stop differentiating themselves, and they try and these things that have been tried and true. And the more they try that crap, the more they blend in and add to the noise, and they sound like shit. They feel like shit. They treat people like shit. People treat them like shit, and so it's just a shit storm that's just unbelievable. So I knew that there were too many. Look, Dale started with shit, and I wanted to end with shit. So the thing is,
boy, I'm going to get censored all over the place here.
Well, it's like, and look. I just want to set the record straight. Shit is not a 4-letter word. Okay, I just want to say for the record, it really isn't. Really. Anyway, so, but that's the thing is like, reach out to me on LinkedIn for sure if you've got questions, because look, either I can help you directly and just like really just God unleash the absolute amazing potential of your company, of your product, or let's get you lined up and locked into the brand, into the actual masterclass. Trust me, your life will not be the same. Period.
That's awesome.
It shouldn't have to be the same by the time you're done with it at all.
Well, David and Dale, thank you both very much. I love your energy. I appreciate you being here. Our audience certainly appreciates it. And let's do this again real soon.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
Appreciate you.
that'll be a blast. As Dale, you are a god amongst men. I love you dearly. You are just love you, man.
Love you
Rocking.
too, bro.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
man.